Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Fei-Fan Balzer, and I can be found everywhere online as at Balzer Designs. So we are in week 10 of The Artist's Way. This is a 12-week journey. I would say it's been a little rough, but I'm definitely more uh, I would say I'm definitely more into it or more forgiving or something like that about it. I wanted to mention a couple classes that I have coming up. I have a free class coming up on May 13th. That's this Saturday for World Collage Day. So it's a class really about how to take a kit that you just print out and how to make lots of different kinds of collages from it. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out on my website. I also have a paid collage class coming up that's about making collage faces. So you can make collage faces big and small and part of a face or more of a face or whatever you want. But this is a really great class, one of my favorites to teach. So that's on Zoom. So hi, Carol. Hi, Diane. Thanks for popping into the comments. It's nice to see you. So we are going to dive in here and I'll share my vlog from this week with you. I had such an exciting breakthrough / rabbit hole. So I can't wait. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Here we go. In a hotel room. I'm on a trip with my family, but I've got my morning pages notebook and I've got the Artist's Way, and hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit of something over the next few days. Week 10, recovering a sense of protection. So let's take the workaholic quiz together. So I work outside of office hours, seldom or often or never. I don't have office hours. I work 24/7, so often. I cancel dates with loved ones to do more work, seldom, often, never. So if I really had a date in the plan, I would never cancel it, but I'll often make a decision of whether or not to do something based on work. I postpone outings until the deadline is over, seldom, often, never. I've tried to get better about that. I take work with me on weekends, seldom, often, never, often. I take work with me on vacations, seldom, often, never, often. My intimates complain I always work, seldom, often, never. So everybody who's in my family knows that I'm a workaholic and they're okay with it. So I try to do 2 things at once, often. I allow myself free time between projects. There is no between projects. There is no free time. Never. I allow myself to achieve closure on tasks. Well, that seems to be the previous answer, so never. I procrastinate in finishing up the last loose ends. I'm going to give it an often. I set out to do 1 job and start on 3 more at the same time. Yep, every day. I work in the evening during family time. No, I've actually gotten really good about, I work up to the point that my son comes home, and then I work again after he goes to bed. I allow calls to interrupt, and who calls on the phone? Nobody calls. I prioritize my day to include an hour of creative work or play. I mean, yes, I do. I place my creative dreams before my work. I mean, they're intertwined. So I would never miss a deadline because I felt like painting. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. I fall in with others' plans and fill my free time with their agendas. Rarely. I allow myself downtime to do nothing. Never. That's bad, and that's on me. I use the word deadline to describe and rationalize my workload. I mean, actually, I'm just thinking about this. I'm here. I'm on vacation. Steve has taken our son to the pool, and I could just sit here, read a book, chill out, and instead I'm doing this, which I brought with me because I was like, oh, if I have any free time, I'll do some work. There's always a deadline. Going somewhere, even to dinner, with a notebook or my work numbers is something I do. Going somewhere, even to dinner, with a notebook or my work numbers. I don't know what that, anyway, I think this is an antiquated phone question or something, but yeah, I don't take it. I don't think I'm that bad quite yet, but all signs point to I'm a workaholic, and it is something I'm actively working on. So this is kind of a half-formed thought, but I've been thinking a little bit about how one of the things about the Artist's Way that maybe is life transforming is just the idea of making it through something for 12 weeks, committing to, reading the book and doing the morning pages and doing the artist date. And like, I mean, if they say it takes 30 days to develop a habit, right? That if you manage to finish the book, that is life changing. Like something about it has attached to you. And so maybe that's a huge part of the secret. And you guys, we're going to hit that 12-week mark. I've just apparently put a crease in my chin. No, I've just fallen down a rabbit hole. I don't know how it happened, but I suddenly stumbled across this thing called commonplace books or commonplace journals. And it's probably because I've been trying to research so much about like morning pages and journaling and stuff in general. And so I watched a couple of videos about these commonplace books, which from what I can tell have been a tradition since like Victorian times. And the idea of them is that it's a place where you write down like quotes you like. When you read something and something strikes you, you write it down there. If there's something, that you're thinking about, you write it down. And I started to like watch these videos and think like, well, that reminds me a lot of like the bullet journal that I keep. And then I was like, oh, well, then it's actually also in some ways like morning pages because it's the stuff you're thinking about, and it's anyway, all of that is just to say, I like the idea of a commonplace book. I consume a lot of things and I like to sort of distill them into concrete ideas. And I have a lot more trouble with the kind of blathering of morning pages, just the way my brain works, and so I'm actually really excited about this idea of, I think, okay, God, I'm being so ineloquent on, anyway, okay. Take 75 on my mouth working today. Okay, all of this is to say that last week, one of my discoveries and going over the morning pages was being able to pull stuff out of them made me really excited. And now I'm actually able to connect that to the fact that like one of the things I love about my bullet journal is I often take notes when I'm reading a book that I think is interesting or important to me. And then I can go back and I can read my notes instead of having to reread the whole, 400-page book. I can read 6 pages of notes that I've written. And then even more than that, I often go back through the notes and I highlight and I underline and I star stuff so that I can really just go back and like even distill that out further and further. And so I feel like that's all of the universe saying, like, Julie, if you want things to be useful, that's fine. Things can be useful and you can find a way to make it work for you. You just have to stop trying to fit into somebody else's idea of what your brain should be doing. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Time for a weekly check-in. Okay. I don't know why I'm not a singer-songwriter. It's so confusing. Okay, so how many days this week did you do your morning pages? Has reading your pages changed your writing, or are you still allowing yourself to write them freely? So I probably did my morning pages 4 days this week, which is more days than I have done it at all. So I would say reading the pages transformed everything for me because now they have a point. So now I'm all in. So now I'm excited about it. So in fact, it's the opposite of what I think Julia Cameron is afraid is happening here. I'm into it. Did you do your artist date this week? Let yourself do an extra one. What did you do? How did it feel? I did not do an artist date this week. We went on a family trip this week, which was an adventure. Did you experience any synchronicity this week? What was it? I haven't experienced any synchronicity this week, but I am still listening at the door, so to speak. Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. I asked my mother to do the workaholic quiz. I just read her the questions and I said, answer for me. And she actually rated me, let's say, more poorly than I even did myself, saying I'm even more of a workaholic. But she also acknowledged that nobody in my family is like, Julie, you need to work less. Julie, you need to, do less. And that it's unclear whether that's because it's enabling behavior or whether, I don't know, we all think workaholism is okay, or whether because it's not like I'm working I am my boss. So it's not like I'm working for a super mean boss doing a job that's sucking my soul. Like, I love this. I'm working towards my dream. So, I don't know. I have to think about the workaholism thing because I definitely am a workaholic. I don't know if how it's getting in the way of my creativity. It probably is. I just have to figure out how. Anyway, I would say that it has been a good week. I'm feeling much more charitable towards this book. Somebody last week during our discussion, which you guys, if I haven't said it already, I value these discussions so much. They have transformed this experience for me. I 100% would have chucked this book at like week 2, maybe, if not for our discussions. And what I'd say is somebody last week said, oh, I've forgotten entirely what we were even talking about because I was filled with so much gratitude. Okay, I remembered. So last week, somebody said that the book is a buffet. It's not a like served meal. And so take what you want. If you only want the lettuce, just take the lettuce. If you only want the meat, just take the meat. If you want a little bit of everything, take it. Take the portion size you want. And I love that. The book is a buffet and you get to decide what part of it you want to eat. And actually, so another food metaphor, and I've said this many times on the podcast I host, the Adventures in Arting podcast, that a writer friend of mine, playwright, said that, at the end of the day, if you want to think about your play as like you have a shopping cart and it's going through the carts of the store. And all these different people are trying to put things into your cart, right? The actors want to put something in, the director wants to put something in, your mother wants to put something in, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you're the one paying for the groceries at the checkout line. So you have to decide what goes into the cart. And this is perfect with the buffet method idea too, right? Which is you're the one who has to eat the food. So you get to decide what goes on your plate. You get to decide what you like and what you don't. Nobody else can determine that for you. So I love this. Definitely keeping that in mind for the week. Thought for the week. Okay, thought for the week. It's a buffet, which is nice. So Kathleen says, I love commonplace books. That's how I kept a journal, 17 bankers boxes full, 100%. I have to tell you, when I found this commonplace book thing, it was like someone had given a name to what I love. There was a book club that I did maybe last year. I'm trying to think about when it was. I think it was maybe a year ago. And in it, we were looking at a book that wasn't really an instructional book, but still an art book. And I was talking about the ways that I get information out of a book like that. And I was showing how you can take quotes from it. You can take ideas from it. You can take impressions from it, historical figures you want to know, things you want to look up. And that essentially is what a commonplace book is. So I am going to probably wax poetic about commonplace books for a really, really long time because I feel like it's, I keep a studio notebook. That's kind of a commonplace book in some ways. I keep a bullet journal. That's kind of a commonplace book. The way that the morning pages are turning out for me and how I do them, that's kind of a commonplace book. So even my art journal, is kind of a commonplace book in some ways. And so it's kind of nice to have that name for something that you already do. Also, when I researched commonplace books, one of the things I found is a number of people who said that they had tried morning pages and it didn't work for them, or they stopped working for them or whatever, and they actually turned over to commonplace books instead. So I am once again heartened by the idea that there are so many different kinds of brains out there, and it is awesome if morning pages work for you. And if they don't, I think there are some other alternatives, and that's really exciting because it means that you can still participate in a lot of ways in this kind of daily thinking, daily evaluating, daily free flow, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of awesome. So Donna says, I think the 100-day project is more life-changing, at least for me. This is my first 100 days. I miss days. There will be 100, just not consecutive. I'm by the way, only on day 41 or 42. So I'm way not consecutive with the 100-day project this year. But yes, I think that's the whole idea, right? This sustained period of time where you're focused on something has to be life transforming, doesn't it? I mean, anything that you were going to do over a long period of time, I feel like would touch you in some ways, right? Donna says, on the workaholism thing, the book doesn't discuss if your passion causes you to be a workaholic. Isn't that a good thing? Yeah, this is one of the questions I had because if you're working a job, a full job, like a 9-to-5 full job or a 7 to 6 full job nowadays with the way working hours are, and then you spend your evenings it's confusing messages, right? You're a workaholic if you tell your family that you can't do things with them because you're working, but in earlier chapters, she's like, you're supposed to tell your family to go away and like sacrifice getting a new couch so you can have a dark room. I think maybe we're talking across purposes, and like it's okay to be a workaholic about your passion, but not about something you're not passionate about. I mean, I guess the message sort of overall that I am just taking away is like, you should be working towards something you want to be working towards and not letting things that you don't enjoy sort of eat your time. I think that's maybe the best way to think about it. And I certainly am guilty of, you know, dithering over a lot of stuff that I hate doing. That's like the busy work of running a business, which, you have to do, but I could probably be more efficient about it or like relegate it to a certain period of the day or something like that. I don't know. I have to think about it. Workaholism is it's such a big thing. And like, there's some positive aspects and some negative. It's not black and white, right? It's really, really gray. Diane shares that she just started a commonplace book. Yay. So much easier than trying to find things in multiple subject-based books. 100%. I agree. The thing is, if you have too many, I feel like separate notebooks, one of the things that the bullet journal taught me that I will never give up ever, ever, ever is the index. If you don't know about this, one of the greatest things about a bullet journal is that you create an index at the front of the book so that if you want to know where like scan and cut notes, book club, ideas for classes, May schedule, that book I just read, whatever it is, you just look in the index and you can immediately find what page it's on. It's such I don't know why it's so obvious and so smart. So now I'm always going to take the index with me, wherever I go, because I swear to you, I can put my hands on any information I need in like 2 minutes because I can just scan the indexes, even of multiple books, to figure out what I'm looking for. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Carol says she loves the idea of commonplace books. Makes sense to her. Me too, Carol, so much. Sherry says it's a great discussion about this book. I'm so glad, Sherry. Nothing too much, everything in moderation, as they say, right? And Sherry says the index idea is genius. Yeah, I really think like that's we get back to this issue, which is I need things to be useful. I need to know that things are useful. So if I'm just writing in a notebook and I never look at it again, for me, that's really tough. For some people, that's fantastic. They want to just like get it out and be done with it. And I think that's great. We all get to be different. For me, I need things to be useful. And one of the ways that they're useful is if I can find them again, because I hated the thing about a bullet journal. So, okay, I'm going to wax poetic about bullet journals for 1 second. But the way that a bullet journal changed my life is I have always been a person who had like 1,000 little Post-its and notes and pieces of paper and that thing I wrote over here and where was this and where was that. And it was just too much, frankly. Pieces of paper everywhere. The bullet journal, really, I don't do the pretty bullet journal. I sort of did at the beginning. I tried to, but it didn't work for me. So I have a scratchy notebook. It's probably more like a commonplace book. And in that book, I just find it really, really helpful to have like, if I'm, let's say even medical information, I have a page of medical information. So like every time I go to the doctor, I open up the same 2-page spread. And if there's any notes or things that I want to say to the doctor or that the doctor says to me, I just like keep it there so that I have this record of through all the visits and all the things, right? And I do that with my son and with my mom and with my husband and all that stuff. So I have it. Same with if there's a project in the house. Same with like if I have a class idea and it's kind of vague, I like reserve 2 or 3 pages in the book for it. And then every time I come back to the book to think about it, I just add instead of having to constantly restart over, right? So it's a great sort of receptacle. So I like that. Donna says, I've never used a commonplace book, but mine would have to be in a binder so I could rearrange the pages. Absolutely. I mean, I think, again, like that's the thing that's so great about being able to customize things to fit you, because like one of the things about a bullet journal is if you run out of space is you just say like continued on page 94 and then you have to skip a bunch of pages, right, to get to page 94 of the notebook. But that would make some people crazy, right? So then if you had loose leaf, then you could just stick in some more pages and not have to worry that you'd have to skip ahead to something. So again, make it work towards you. Diane says, I think she's pointing toward life balance. Even too much of a good thing isn't good. Yeah, I think that a lot of a lot of recovery of any kind is probably because you went too far in one direction, right? And it's trying to bring you back towards center. And so part of that is like, moderation or less of this, or, again, finding the balance in your life. I think that I'm a very unbalanced person. I actually said that this weekend when we went away on our trip to somebody. I said I'm a lopsided person. They talk about well-rounded people who, are sort of good at everything and have a general knowledge of everything and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just very lopsided. And that is an interesting way to go through the world, I think. I tend to, one of the worst qualities about me, I will say, is that I tend to not be able to learn people's names who I'm not interested in. And the same with subjects. I tend not to be able to learn subjects I'm not interested in. My brain just shuts off and won't do it, which is rude. But I can't help it. My brain doesn't want to engage. And so that is the funny thing about like trying to find balance, or do you just go towards the things that you're really interested in? I don't know what the right answer is, and I'm not sure that there is 100% of a right answer. Delia says hello, and it's her first time here, so welcome. We're so glad that you're here. I will say that I think it's interesting. I got the name of week 10 wrong. Right? So week 10 is supposed to be recovering a sense of self-protection. And in the video, in the little vlog, you'll notice that I said just recovering a sense of protection. Now, I think part of this is that I find the titles don't always work for me in terms of what the content is. But on the other hand, I do wonder about the difference between a sense of protection versus self-protection. Like, what's the difference? If you say I'm recovering a sense of protection and I say I'm recovering a sense of self-protection, I guess, is that the idea of your like child artist? You're trying to nurture something inside of you? I don't know. I'm not sure what the subtlety is there. But to me, again, like this title makes no sense for what this week is about. If I were to distill week 10 of this out at all, and maybe it's because I'm particularly interested in the workaholism aspect of it, it would be more about like guarding your time or thinking about where your energy goes or something like that. Donna also agrees with my random title association here. And Sherry says, me too, but you are interested, just not focused at that time, maybe. Yeah, I'm often interested, at the time in what somebody's saying, but then I can't remember what they do 20 minutes later, It feels to me like the titles, just back on that for 1 second, since we're getting towards the end of this book, is like they sound really good in terms of steps. Recovering a sense of connection, recovering a sense of strength, recovering a sense of compassion, recovering a sense of self-protection. And next week is recovering a sense of autonomy. But it's hard for me if the titles don't give you a clue to what you should be taking away from each week. Like I wish they were a little more, I wish even maybe one of the tasks that she would say to you is, what is the big lesson from this week? Oh, actually, that's a great thing. One of the things, this is a commonplace book thing again. One of the things I often like to do when I read something is sort of try to summarize for myself, what's the point? What would I do with this information? What is the overall thing I'm taking away from this? And what I think is interesting is in all the tasks and all the questions, and even like in the check-in questions that you get every single week, there's never a question that says, what are you taking away from this week? What is the one concrete action you're going to go forward with? What is the change you're going to make in your life? Those are the kind of things that I need to be motivated. This all seems a little sort of swishy to me. Like, I think you can make it through the 12 weeks without actually changing anything about yourself. And I wonder if there were a more aggressive need for you to self-teach as opposed to sort of following along and say, like, what are you taking away from this? If that would be helpful. I don't know. Donna says they are like buzzwords. 100%. They totally feel like self-help buzzwords. Oh yeah. Compassion, autonomy, self-protection. Like I get those things. So yeah, I think maybe I need to do the little work of saying, what am I going to take away from the week? Okay. Last thing I'm going to say about it is that I sometimes go to the internet and I just type in like, what is week 10 about of the Artist Way? Because I honestly, I'm just like, what, this is so random to me and doesn't seem, to work. What am I supposed to be taking away? And the interesting thing is that people have a lot of different opinions about it. And I think that's good. And that maybe what I need to start doing, and maybe I'll do this towards the end, is sort of summarize for myself, like what I think the takeaway for me is from each week. Because again, that's the buffet. If I put out the big buffet in front of you, we'd probably each have different things, different dishes that we said were the best, or the one that we liked, or the one that we were going to go towards, right? So yeah, I think that's a goal. I should write that down in my morning pages notebook, with my commonplace journal, with my bullet journal, with my mixing it all together book, of the things I want to do. Anyway, I want to thank you again for joining me for book club. We are going to be jumping into week 11. You guys, we got just 2 weeks left. We've been doing an awesome job. Thank you for being here on the journey. It's so fun to me to discuss it with you. So recovering a sense of autonomy is week 11. Then recovering a sense of faith is week 12. That one's going to be interesting to talk about. And then I will, during week 12, include a little chat about, at the back, the Artist Way questions and answers and some of the other stuff that's in the back, because I think we could talk about kind of all of that at the end. Kathleen says, what's the next book? I haven't picked it yet. I think we're going to take a little break and maybe not do a book club until, so there'll be 2 more weeks, which will take us into the end of May, beginning of June, something like that. And then we probably won't do another book club until July, August. I'll take a peek and pick something out. Okay, so I hope to see you in class to make some collage faces or something else very soon. I'll see you next time. Bye.